Meeting is being called to order. Just a little housekeeping for those of you that have not been informed as of yet. Our judge is unable to be here tonight due to a family member passing on, making the transition this morning. So he's asked us to chair this meeting instead. So we're going to ask that we all keep he and his family lift up in prayer. With that being said, we're going to ask Chairman Justice Daniels, if you would call your committee to order. We have a special call meeting for one item on the agenda.
The actual attachment. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried to the full quorum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The full quorum court meeting will now come to order Monday, December the 13th, 2021, Jefferson County Courthouse, 101 Barbecue Street, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, time 5:30. We will now have a call to order. Let us have prayer. We're going to ask Minister Holcomb if he would give us prayer, after which we would have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by the roll call.
Children, Lord, I hope that I can always be someone that will try to shine your light before me. Father, we ask as we carry out the county business today that we'll do it in a professional manner that's always the best for the people that are residents of this county. We ask that you bless each one of the people that are represented here and bless each one of them as they leave this place and bring us back safely at your appointed time. Bless these things in the name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Holcomb, for the prayer. We are now prepared for our treasurer's report. Roll call, roll call.
Adams. Here. AG. Here. Byrd. Here. Curl. Here. Daniels. Here. Dumas. Here. Fisher.
Here.
Gaddy. Here. Harden. Here. Holcomb.
Here.
Jackson.
He's here. He's on phone.
Patricia Johnson. Here. Reginald Johnson.
Here. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think the mic is on. Can you all hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay, good evening. I want to give you your financials for the month of November 2021. We have a beginning balance of $36,059,161.26. November revenues totaling just a little bit over $12,852,000. November expenditures, $24,676,000, giving us an ending balance on November 30th, $24,234,633.76. And just a highlight to let you know that at this same point in time, our revenues, we were $17 million above where we were at this point in November of 2020. County General, we are $1 million over where we were at this point in County General.
Thank you. Are there any questions to our treasurer? Yes, Justice Daniels.
I didn't hear you. Which one? Our ending balance? It's $24,234,633.
Thank you. Item 3, reading and disposition of our minutes. We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Report of our standing committees. We will ask now if Brother Cedric Jackson, if I can get him back, he just disappeared. Get him on.
How you doing, Justice Fisher? I have one on the agenda, and it was motion and probably second, and it was moved over to the full court with a due process, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Justice Jackson. Public Safety Committee, Justice Conley Byrd.
Thank you, Justice Fisher. The Public Safety Committee had 3 items. All were sent on to the Finance Council with the due pass, and that concludes the report.
Thank you, Justice Byrd. We're going to ask that Justice Daniels, thank you so much for standing in our stead while we were out under the weather. We're going to ask that if you would chair this Finance Committee and bring us that report, would you please?
Thank you, Justice Fisher. The Budget and Finance had 10 items.
Could you turn your mic on, please?
The Budget and Finance had 10 items on the agenda. 3 items were came from the Public Safety. All items were passed to the full quorum with a due pass. That's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Include the item today should be added to that 11 items. All items passed with the due to the full quorum with a due pass.
Would you remind us of that item?
The appropriation ordinance to appropriate funds to fund 3046 American Rescue Plan.
Thank you. Unfinished business, if there's any. If not, let me thank the public for coming out and sharing with us tonight in this Jefferson County Quorum Court meeting. Do we have any comments or questions from the public concerning the business that's before us tonight? Thank you. At this point in time, we will now have a presentation of our COVID benefits. We have Lakeisha Wilkins. Are you present?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Justice Carroll.
Quorum Court members in public, Justice Fisher. Ms. Wilkins does not have a statement, but just standing here beside her, I can tell that she's overwhelmed. And her grief, sorrow, and it is my prayer. It is my prayer as we make this presentation that God will meet her at her point of need, that she and I can touch and agree that God will come to her rescue, wipe away her tears. So on behalf of the Jefferson County Quorum Court, Ms. Wilkins, I want to present you this little token, letting you know that we feel you. You're part of us, we love you, we care about the citizens of Jefferson County, and we want you to know it.
God bless you. If it be please the courts that I might make my comments after all of the recipients have received their gifts, if I might do that, we'll do that at the end of all of the recipients getting their gifts. Stephanie Swaggart, pardon me.
Sister Swaggart does not have a statement tonight. But again, all of us have had an opportunity to lose a loved one. And in these perilous times, it's not uncommon anymore. And it's not down the street anymore. It impacts us all tonight. So tonight, on behalf of the Quorum, we want to share in this song. We want to give you this gift, letting you know that we, the members of the Jefferson County Quorum, Judge Lawson in his absence, we love you, we care about you, and we want to be there for you.
Thank you, Justice Carroll. Takia White, Justice Johnson.
Okay, we have Ms. Takia White, and she does not wish to make a statement, but I would like to present this token to you on behalf of Jefferson County Quorum Court and the county judge. May this be some.
Foster Hampton, Justice Dumas.
Okay, Mr. Hampton would not like to make a statement, and we just want to know that, want you to know that we keep you in our prayers, and on behalf of Jefferson County Court and the county judge, I present you this little token of
Deborah Staton, Justice Holcomb.
And we really appreciate your consideration.
Well, I'm all set to stay. Is that where you stay? That's the way, because I've known that family all my life. I've passed by that property out there many times in my life. Y'all are a staple of the community out there in the area where we live. And I know we can never do anything to get calm and ease the loss of loved ones like you had. But you can always rest assured that you're in our thoughts and you're our prayers. As a community, we support you and stand behind you in any way that we can. So, as a small token of a gift from this county judge and Quorum Court and the citizens of Jefferson County, we'd like to give this to you and hope that in some way this small token will help you in a way that can just ease a little bit of your pain. God bless you.
Linda Burns, Justice Holcomb.
There again, the Burns family, that Burns name brings clear in my mind all my life. That 1963 when we moved here, and I knew a lot of the Burns family. I don't know if you're kin to the ones that I all knew, but oh yeah. Well, I just want you to know that, you can never say anything or do anything that could assist and help in any way, but it's easy pain that we suffer when we lose a loved one. It's a token of the way that we feel about the citizens of Jefferson County and the people that reside here, because that community out there where we all live is it's like a family. So we just want you to know that our prayers and our thoughts are with you, and from the Quorum Court, the county judge, and the citizens of Jefferson County, please take this as a token and hope that this will do something better.
Clifford Moats.
Losing a spouse of 54 years puts a damper on the Christmas spirit. But just knowing that so many people are giving us prayers and their thoughts, it lifts the weight when more people share it. I sure appreciate this. I thank Danny for what he's done for me. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say, Truman, of course, is a little bit closer with me because I've known your family a long time and been close friends with all the Beth's family for years and years and years. And she and I sang together in a choir for a long time. She was such a dedicated Christian lady and committed to God's work and your family. And you continue that same thing. So I know where she's at. I know where she stood. I know because of the commitment that she claimed in her life to Jesus Christ that she's in a better place now. And she can truly claim that scripture that says, Philippians 1:21, for me to live is Christ, but for me to die is gain. We can live here and we can enjoy our family, which we all want to do, and be a witness for God each and every day we're here. But even greater than that, because of where she's gone now, to die is gain. She's sitting at the feet of Jesus today, rejoicing with him. So you can rest assured in knowing that she's in a better place.
That's exactly what we depend on, yes.
One of these days when your time is up, you can go be there with her in that place. We love you, brother, and we thank you for all that you do. Please take this as a token from all of us and use that in a way that hope that someone can need something in your life. Okay?
Appreciate it.
God bless you.
Thank you, Justice. There are two others that are on this list, and it is James Francis and Mary Taylor. On behalf of the Judge Robertson, this entire Quorum Court, for Jefferson County, this is just a way that we would like to say to the citizens of Jefferson County that we do care. We would much rather to be able to do much more, and we will do that, and that would be through our prayers for you and your family in the days and the years to come. So God bless each and every one of you, and we just appreciate you for being a citizen of Jefferson County. Thank you so much. New business.
Justice Fisher, I move that we suspend the rules and have the ordinances read by title only. Gosh, dog, I've had to turn this.
It's been a motion and a second.
And also, we'll move to the third reading where applicable. I've had this turned off 3 times. Gosh.
What did you say?
Move to the third reading where applicable. Sometimes you got to read the ordinances by 3 times, and if it applies, we're going to move to the third reading.
We have a motion. Got a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All in favor? Yes, Justice Carroll.
Same question I asked some time ago, and that was a legal opinion for us utilizing this order in an unconditional manner to avoid reading the ordinance. And I was under the impression that was for special use, not, but I'm still asking for a legal opinion on it from our attorney.
Give an opinion on that.
Again, I'd like to see the exact question in writing. I'll be glad to provide that.
Would you like to state that to Justice Carroll?
Justice Carroll, if you submit just to me in writing by email or text, I'll research it and come back with a response to that.
So to get an answer, I got the lights on to discontinue, see the lights.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
Item 1, an appropriation ordinance to appropriate funds to county general.
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions? If not,
This pays off the jail.
excuse me.
This pay off the jail at this point. Yeah, I read it here today.
Are there any other questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 2, an appropriation ordinance to provide an appropriation to Fund 3525, Gain Reduction Initiative of Pine Bluff GRIP Grant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions?
Chairman, I ask
Justice Carroll.
to the sheriff's department. I was reading the ordinance and I saw all the different agencies, UATV, et cetera, that they're partnering with. I didn't see anything related to the faith-based community. I didn't see any partnerships with any agencies or in the faith-based community. And I was wondering if someone here who could comment on that.
Turn your mic on.
You didn't hear me?
Can't hear what you said.
As I read the ordinance, the proposal, I saw the different entities that the grant, the sheriff department was partnering with. I didn't see representation from the faith-based community, and I was wondering if there was someone here who could comment on that.
The sheriff is here. Sheriff, would you like to comment on that, please?
Justice Carroll, there's two portions that the faith-based community has partnered with the GRIP initiative. One part is that part of our steering committee, we have two members of the clergy on that steering committee, Pastor Bell and Pastor Easter.
Okay.
The other portion of contributions toward the faith-based community is that is a three-pronged approach: intervention, prevention, and suppression. Part of the intervention portion, we have included two hospital interventionists who are part of the faith-based community. And their sole role would be to communicate and coordinate from the hospital in the event there's been a shooting or a homicide. They will respond immediately to the call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. That being said, we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Madam Secretary, item 3.
Item 3, an appropriation ordinance to provide a transfer within Fund 3403 Mecca.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions? Justice Carroll.
I have already asked in committee about Scared Straight, and the sheriff has already talked to me about that. And this cleanup order. And may I say, since you asked me a question, Mr. Chairman, some of the questions that I asked are not necessarily for my benefit personally, but the fact that we have members here in our meeting that are not privileged to the documents that we have or the meetings that we may have with other entities prior to the meeting. I simply asked some of those questions for information for the public. I'm not not knowing some things or not reading, but I know that they do not have access to what we have in front of us.
Thank you, Justice Carroll. The motion and the second on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 4, an appropriation ordinance to provide a transfer from Fund 1000 County General to Fund 3004 Amendment 79 Fund.
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Discussions? Questions? And if there's not any, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jackson. Madam Secretary.
Item 5, an appropriation ordinance to provide a transfer within Fund 2000 Road, within Fund 1808 Environmental Enforcement, within Fund 1804 Solid Waste Contract, within Fund 3036 Recycling, and within Fund 35 Recycling Resource Grant.
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Justice Carroll.
If I read that correctly, there's a little over 500,000, just above $500,000 that we're, I didn't really understand where it was going. We're pulling it from these different entities, right? Where are we reappropriating it to?
That information, the judge would probably have that. Let me check with the.
It's not a reappropriation, this is cleanup for the year.
Okay.
So most of these items that you see in this article are just for cleanup.
Are we pulling the funds back out of those?
No, you're just cleaning up the line. So if a line is in the negative, you're pulling money from another line item in order to balance their particular department. So there is no money going out or anything like this, just simply cleaning up their department.
Sounds good.
All minds and hearts are clear? We have a motion and a second. The questions have been answered. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign, being that there's not any, motion carried. Madam Secretary.
Item 6, an appropriation ordinance to provide a transfer within Fund 1000 County General, Fund 3000 Treasurer's Automation, and Fund 1819 District Court.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions? Being that there's not any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 7, an appropriation ordinance to transfer and appropriate funds from Fund 1812 Solid Waste to Fund 1804 Solid Waste Contract.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 8, an appropriation ordinance to transfer monies to County General for the year 2021 Christmas bonus.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussions? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposes, like sign. Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 9, an appropriation ordinance for the 2020 budget of the general fund to provide for a supplemental appropriation for a salary increase for elected officials.
Thanks.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussions? Being that there's not any, did I hear?
I'm going.
Justice Carroll.
The question that I asked in the committee meeting when we were made aware that there had been an underpayment to the Justice of the Peace for the year. But they're not included in this number 9 in terms of appropriation, is that correct? Under elected officials.
Correct.
So we do not have another ordinance to make that payment legal, because it hadn't been appropriated. The money had never been appropriated. Even though it's due to justices, we don't have an ordinance to legalize it. So it's not part of this.
We're going to ask the Staff secretary.
It wasn't necessary, Justice Carroll, because you could do it by court order. It's a salary adjustment.
Can
So
do
it
it
wasn't
by,
necessary to do an ordinance. You can do it by court order.
by court order?
Per AAC, yes.
So we've had a court to order it?
Yes. It can be done by court order. Once it's approved, you can do it by court order. There's no need to reappropriate and all that. You can do it by court order.
So it hasn't been, the court hasn't approved, hasn't designated it yet, is what you're saying?
The funds are designated, but however, you guys have to vote on it to say, yes, we want to do it. You don't have to do an ordinance on it. It's a salary adjustment. It's not any new money per se, but it's just money that was due. It's not an increase. It's an adjustment.
But we do, what action do we have to take? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Vote. Just vote.
On this or a different ordinance?
On the item before you.
Okay.
Are there any other discussions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Item 10, an appropriation ordinance approving a budget for Jefferson County, Arkansas for the fiscal year January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions? I heard someone say, Chair recognizes Justice Adam.
Justice, I got just one microphone.
Microphone, please.
I'm looking at what we have before us, but I don't know what we judging this on. We passing a budget that I've never seen. I mean, I'm just sitting here dittoing what's before me, but I did a little homework today, and I went to several elected officials' office, and my findings was that they were not aware, most of them were not aware of the changes, and several of them have not even seen the changes yet. And I just want to know how we can take a budget, and I understand the process now. Been here long enough to know we cannot spend what we do not have. I understand our 90%, I understand all that. What I do not understand is how we can take an elected official budget, and when they leave that office, it's one thing, but when they get it back, it's something else. Some of them have not even seen their budget yet, and we have not even seen it. And we sitting here voting to pass it on. What are we passing on? And I think we asked that question in committee meeting, and we was told we was gonna get that information. But we gonna pass right on the 22 budget, and you have not seen anything. What we voting on?
Chair recognizes Justice Justice Gaddy.
His question wasn't answered. Y'all want to answer that first?
I'm on.
Okay. I'm kind of like him. I haven't seen a budget at all, period. Excuse me? And it was.
Excuse me, Justice Adams?
Yeah.
Come on, go ahead. Excuse me, Justice Gaddy.
And in my findings, what I was telling you, I found that most of them did not know that the cut had been made. Now, my question is, even though we cut it, I noticed that the line item that was given back to them, they chose what line item that they cut it from. Well, is that proper for us to be moving money out of these positions and running their office like that? I got a problem with that. Now, what should have happened is that I need $10,000 out of your budget. And usually they go back and they adjust their own budget. But I found that the budget was adjusted, then given back to them. Now, that is not the proper way we've been handling business. I think I might be through this time.
Okay, thank you, Justice. Justice Gaddy.
I have not seen a budget.
and I'm only speaking for Brenda, I can't vote on this at all, on voting on something that I haven't seen. So I will not be voting on this particular item.
Thank you. Is there any, Justice Carroll?
Mr. Chairman, I would much rather that we not vote down the budget, rather table this until next month, rather than vote down. I would rather for us to, matter of fact, I'm gonna make a motion that we table it to next month or a special call meeting, whichever is the privilege of the judge to do. This presentation for budget.
At this point in time, Justice Carroll, to my understanding, and we did bring back paperwork concerning the new laws. I think I brought that back, and I did offer it to each and every individual that sits at these seats. And then what I've found is that all of what we are discussing now came through committee. And once it comes through committee, that was the time where you have your says, where you vote no or yes. And we're at a point now that it has come to the full court. There's no other alternative other than up or down. That's why we're here tonight. We're here to vote yes or no. You have that privilege. But for me, I don't have the power, neither do either one of us have the power tonight to table this, to pull it, or do anything. We move forward, we vote it up, or we vote it down. That's the process. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think Robert's Rules of Order, that is the process we use, allows a substitute motion to be in order at this particular point in time. And our attorney is sitting there. If Robert's Rules of Order does not allow for such a motion, then I will retract it. But I believe now that this business is on the floor, it is appropriate to offer a substitute motion.
Justice Daniels.
It is very appropriate for the quorum court, for the county judge to adjust the budget. As a matter of fact, that's his job to adjust it. Each elected official, what they do, they turn in a projected budget to the county judge's office. It's then the responsibility of the county judge to get with the treasurer to go over their budget. Number one, to find out if the monies are available. Number two is to keep the budget under 90%. So yes, the county judge does have the authority to balance this budget to make sure it stay within those guidelines. Now, just because they sent in a projected budget, that doesn't mean that the county judge nor the quorum court has any responsibility or to approve their budget. It's our responsibility to make sure that it's meeting the guidelines. And yes, something may get cut. It might not be the budget that they sent in. And with that said, as we were mentioning earlier, you mentioned earlier, it has come through committee. It's on the table for a vote. I mean, that's Justice Carroll's prerogative if you want to suggest that. But I still feel as if we should go ahead and take a vote on this. Because as far as the budget is concerned, the only thing that the quorum court is obligated to do is to fund a jail and its employees. The quorum court is tasked with the specifics to fix the number and the compensation of county employees, and that includes deputies, administration, whatever slots available. So it's our decision. We make that decision, not the elected officials. All they do is suggest by turning in a projected budget. And it's up to us to decide what that budget will be.
Thank you, Justice Daniels. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, are we,
We're going to let the county clerk speak. No, we haven't gotten to that point. We're on our way. We're on our way.
I was just gonna say that in order for us to pay bills next year and do anything, we have to have a budget. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a special call meeting, but before I can do anything next year, we have to have a budget.
And at this point in time, we're going to ask our attorney for his legal input on this, and keep in mind that you do have you've got a up or down on your bringing it before the full courts to vote whether you table it or whether you vote on it. Am I correct? Justice Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, in that I was seeking the attorney's opinion on whether or not a substitute motion was in order, since the order of business was on the floor.
Yes.
Robert's Rules of Order apply to the proceeding, so whatever the body wishes to do in regard to substitute motions, amendments, and those sorts of things, I would simply echo what Clerk Taggart says. You do have to have a budget, or you can spend a penny January 1.
So is that, Mr. Chairman, is that understood from the attorney that we can entertain a substitute motion?
If it's, yes.
Offer a motion to substitute, and go through Robert's Rules of Order addressing that prior to voting on the main motions.
Justice Fisher. Justice Fisher.
Chair, just recognize Justice Byrd.
The one thing that we're required to do as a quorum court is to pass a budget and have it in place by the 31st of December of this year. We cannot postpone this to next year. We can't forward it. We can't table it till next year because we'd be in violation of state law.
Now, with that being said, let me say this, that all things can be worked out. I mean, we're at a crossroad now, and what I'm feeling, if I may take a page out of your book, it's Jimmy Fisher. If I was going to be in the dark about something, I would not have sit in committee and voted yes to pass it on to a full court before I went and did my research. Because I do all my research before I make a decision in committee. That's where all of the work is done in the committees. The work is not done here after the fact, because after the fact, it may be something that I like and it may be something that I don't like. But all that should come before the committees in the discussion of committees. That's why you have committee meetings, so you can be abreast on what's going on. When I served as public safety and the sheriff is here, I visited with him and visited with others. The Mecca, I believe I saw her back here. I visited with her. When I didn't understand, I wanted to make sure concerning budgets or whatever it may be. So when I came to the committee meetings, I was prepared to know what I was voting on, rather than to vote on something and then come back to find out that it is moved on through the process. And then we got to come back and you want to table or pull. We have that, you have that right. But again, Justice Carroll, you're going to vote on that, then you got to vote on the other also. You just can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So as just circuit clerk, county clerk has said, that you're going to need monies in order to operate. Yes, sir.
Mr. Today is now the 13th, 14th of the month, so there is ample time for a special call meeting to address this issue. I'm just curious if you were providing information or arguing the motion.
I am providing information. And with that being said, let me recognize Justice Johnson, and then we're going to move on and vote motion for the one that you made, whether you want to pull it or vote for it. We'll see where we are as far as the full court is concerned. Then we'll be able to move to the other.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak though first, after her.
Yeah, Justice Fisher, I'm sort of piggybacking on what you said about the meeting, but everybody's on the Budget and Finance Committee. So when everybody's on the Budget and Finance Committee, and when they asked, we all agreed that it would go on to the Quorum Court for a due pass. And everybody agreed on that. So to now pull it, first of all, we can't pull the budget because we have to go into 2022 with the budget. The county clerk has to have that in the system before the 31st. So we can't say we're going to pull this and wait till later. We don't have that option. We had that option last Tuesday. We had that option before everybody said, because they did ask for those that opposed, and nobody opposed last Tuesday.
Justice Harding.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we need to pass this budget and let the clerk get the budget initiated. We can always go into next year and adjust anything that needs to be done. She needs to have the budget approved. Then we can go into next year and do whatever adjustments we need to make. She's got to have a budget approved so she can function. And then we've hashed it all the way up to now with what needs to be approved. And then we can make any adjustments or whatever next year. And I'm in favor of just approving tonight the budget that we have set forth. It meets all the requirements, it meets all the percentages, and it's ready to go. I do ask that we do have a hard copy prepared for each one of us, that we were given the okay that we would have that tonight. And I understand the judge had some difficulties with his passing of his brother, so I'm okay with it coming later. But I would like to have a hard copy of the budget later on. I'm not upset that we don't have it tonight. We do have the figures, but I believe we need to just settle down and get the budget approved tonight and go ahead. We all know it's followed up through the channels and it's been approved. And then we need to just get this done and go on. And then we can make any adjustments we need to after the first of the year.
We're going to entertain one other question, and that'd be Justice Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern is that we basically had 3 or 4 persons that who spoke against the motion without the opportunity to comment, supported the motion. And the thing is, and I thank Justice Harding for articulating that we could pass a budget today that we know nothing about, and if there are some questions about, and come back in 2022 and fix it. But we can't table it today and come back in a week and adjust it. I mean, that to me contradicts itself. If the process works now to 2022, the process will work now for us to table this and come back in a week after the judge is able to come back to his office, get back with these elected officials, and we then are assured that they have had the opportunity to visit with him, and then I'm ready to vote.
Well,
I think if the process works in 22, that'll work in 21.
So where we are then, with all fairness, then, if the process is going to work, then let's let the process work. Let's begin with the process of voting whether we should move forward or whether we should table it, beginning with your motion.
Point of order, Justice Fisher.
Justice.
We have a motion on the floor to table it till next month. I have not yet heard a second And I'm hearing Justice Carroll adjusting his motion.
Since you personalized that comment, you haven't heard me do anything except say the same thing 3 or 4 times. You've had 5 or 6 people say different things. You're right, that has not been a second.
You just said that we could do it next week. If we table it to next month, we wouldn't be doing it next week.
My question
Justice
is,
Daniels,
where was all of this concern when it went through committee? And you sit right here when I called that out and you approved it and you went with it, said aye and everything. Everyone in here did. So where you asked that question, but you accepted the answer that the judge gave, that he will supply that. And the thing about it is, the budget did come out and the judge did give the reason why these elected officials now are saying they were not aware of it because they had made comments in the past during the last budget time that this was a ridiculous process and that they did not want to be a part of it. So the judge did what he had to do, present a budget to this quorum court, and that's what we're about to vote on. So if we take the vote, that's you all's prerogative, whoever is against it, to vote against it. But I still feel that we need to get this budget out.
Fisher, I've been had my hand up before she stopped, and you saw it.
I'm going to, at some point in time, this has got to come to an end. Because when you get done, she can raise her hand. When she get done, she can raise her hands. But at one point in time, it's got to be called to question.
Well, can I call point of order now then?
You can, I'm going to allow you to speak, and after that, we're going to move on.
Deborah, listen, I did not want to start this mess within us right at this particular time about this budget. But what I want to make sure that goes on record is the fact that we cannot accept budgets regardless of what we did last week. I asked the same exact question: how can we vote on something that we have not seen? Now, I didn't say nothing. You don't know if I said aye or nay on that because they didn't.
Don't make it personal.
I'm not making it personal. You was looking at me while you was talking. But what I want to do is make sure that with this budget process is done correctly on at least next year, that we will be notified. We asked for the paperwork, did not get it. Do not have it today. But you want to sit here and antagonize us that we said yes to a committee meeting and we asked for the paperwork today.
Which you did.
I'm talking to, please don't do that.
Justice Adams.
Can I finish, sir?
Yes, go ahead. In 2 minutes, 1 minute.
My only point is that we have to have the information. You want us to vote correctly on what's at hand, but we do not. After the meeting, that's when the bombarders came that, hey, they changed my thing. They did. We didn't know it. We did not know what was going on until after the meeting. That a few of the elected officials came and said, well, my own shame. Well, how would I have known that before the committee? Because they were not allowed to say anything in committee. And usually, during budget process, we get to talk to the elected officials and do the whole 9 yards. But nobody got to say anything. You gave me this piece of paper, and that's what I voted to vote on. So yeah, I'm a little upset about it because now you're telling me I voted in committee, and I'm telling you I wanted the paper, and everybody else wanted the paper. Now listen, we're going to pass the budget. We're going to have to pass the budget because that's what we have to do. But I'm not going for this foolishness next year.
Justice Adams, your point is well taken.
Please take it.
Well under consideration. At this point in time, according to our attorney, that we can allow, according to Robert's Rules of Orders, and from what I've heard, is that there can be a motion made, and also what I heard, that there was a motion made for next month, and then made for another time. I say I heard it, I didn't say that it's true. I say I heard that was said. So what I'm going to do is that, again, from what I'm hearing, and where we are at this crossroad with the statements that have come before me, that there was an opportunity for no one to speak the last time. Nobody did any research, nobody did anything, and at this point in time, according to the laws and according to what the attorney has told us and according to courts and according to try to please this court is that there's no but one alternative, and that is that you need to make your decision whether you want to put a motion to the floor to table this or pull this.
No
And
second. There's no second. There's no motion.
there was no motion.
No motion has been
There was never a second. So it died for lack of a second.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
You never called for a second. And since there was a question from Justice Berger on what I said, and you repeated both of those a week or a month, but there was never a call for a second to the motion.
And I believe at that point in time, you called the attention of the chairperson.
What is the motion?
And I answered you. So at this point in time, what is the motion?
The motion is that we table this until such a time that the judge will call a special meeting to address it between now and the end of the month.
At the end of the month.
Between now and the end of the month.
Between now and the end of the month, we got a motion.
What are you tabling for?
I'm tabling it because of the reasons that you indicated, and the same question that I asked last week when we talked about this, was that the process hasn't been changed, wasn't aware it changed, and that there was some seemingly concerns that some things have happened with the budget that other elected officials were not aware of, and because we're not ready. We may do something, that doesn't mean we're ready to do it. I just offered an opportunity for those who had young officials, rather than
There's no
vote
motion,
this down.
no discussion when there's no motion. I mean, no second to it. So only if you get a second do you need to get into discussion. So.
All right.
Say what now?
You gotta have a second.
Gotta have a second
before there's discussion.
before there's a discussion.
Right.
So do we have a second? According to our attorney, we got to have a second before we can get into the discussion to the motion that Justice Carroll made, correct?
Correct.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? All in favor?
Discussion.
We need we want a discussion. We're discussing whether or not you want to table this. So we need a vote.
The judge's office had been working on this budget for the last 2, maybe 3 weeks. Pam, am I correct with that? I came up here myself, and I sit in on them doing the budget. All of us as a quorum court member have that opportunity and that right to check with the judge's office to see if the budget is being discussed, if it's being talked about. We had the right to come up here and review every projected budget that each of these elected officials sent in. That's our responsibility. And I came up here and I sit in the judge's office and I went over the budget and I went to several of the elected officials' office to gather information myself because I needed to know what was going on. So we're not gonna blame the judge's office for us being derelict in our duty. We had just as much responsibility to check with the judge's office. We knew it was budget time. We knew budget was coming up. We knew the budgets were being sent in to the judge's office. He don't have to spoon feed us. We are the quorum court. And it's up to us to gather the information that we need to go on to apply to whatever informed decision that we need. And not come in here on the date of the quorum court and complain about what we didn't have access to. The judge can't give you the information from the county clerk's office or the circuit clerk or the treasurer's office. You have to put in the work and go and collect it yourself. And don't come in here complaining if you didn't do that.
Thank you.
Point of order. That's from Jefferson.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Justice Byrd.
I think a motion to table is not a debatable motion. And so we need to have, since we have a motion and a second, we need to have a vote up or down on the motion to table.
Say that again.
A motion to table under Robert Rules of Order is not debatable. We've had a motion and a second. We need to have a vote up or down on the motion to table.
Call the vote.
If we vote down, then we go back to the original motion. If we vote to table, we're through.
So we're voting on his motion.
So we're voting on whose motion?
Amendment.
The amendment. I'm going to call for a vote.
Table. Yeah.
Will you call the roll?
So is the motion to table until the judge can call a special meeting? Is the motion? Okay. So, Adams? AG? Byrd?
No.
Curl?
Yes.
Daniels?
No.
Dumas? Fisher?
No.
Gaddy?
Yes.
Harden?
No.
Holcomb?
No.
Jackson Cedric?
No.
Patricia Johnson?
No.
Reginald Johnson?
No.
You said no? The noes have it. Failed. Failed. It failed.
So we need to go back to,
Justice Fisher.
now we're going to ask that Secretary, if you would move to what item, we are item 11.
Yeah, for the budget.
Original budget.
An appropriation ordinance providing a budget for Jefferson County, Arkansas for the fiscal year January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
We have a motion. It's already been moved in second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Roll call.
Adams?
No.
AG?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Curl?
No.
Daniels? Dumas?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Gaddy?
No.
Harden?
Yes.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Jackson?
Jackson?
Yes.
Patricia Johnson?
Yes.
Reginald Johnson?
Yes.
Pass.
Motion carries. Item 11, Madam Secretary.
An appropriation ordinance to appropriate funds to Fund 3046 American Rescue Plan.
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Being that there's not any, motion carries. Item 12.
An an ordinance adopting Jefferson County Federal Award Administration Policy.
We have a motion and a second. There any discussions or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Final item, the one that was brought before us this afternoon. You did that? Okay, all right. Thank you.
It was 11.
That being said, we have any announcement before us? Thank you. Motion of the meeting is adjourned.
He's gonna make that announcement about the judge in case somebody came in late.